Hi friends, it's been 6 months since my last presentation when I explained why I believe Taon is the future of Angular and Node.js development. A lot has happened since then. Today I would like to show you some of the most exciting updates of Taon framework, CLI and cloud platform, and how much the project has evolved over the last 6 months. So here there is a link for the previous presentation if you want to watch it. I highly recommend it actually. Before watching this presentation, go watch my previous presentation about 10 reasons why Taon is the future of Angular in Node.js development on YouTube. So, before we start, a little bit about me. My name is Dariusz Filipiak and I live in Warsaw. I started coding 22 years ago. Today I mostly work on Angular frontend application, but throughout my career I also built many backend systems and I work extensively with databases. I have over 10 years of experience with TypeScript and Angular, and I spent almost 10 years developing my open source project Taon. So yeah, Taon has been quite a journey. Today I mainly want to talk about one of the biggest milestones for Taon project. Taon application can now run on Cloudflare Workers, both backend and frontend. This is a huge milestone for me. I will show you how it works and how I made it possible. And also, I want to briefly cover some of the major improvements in Taon, including new incremental build system, internationalization with local powered AI translations, Tailwind CSS support, and TypeScript generated MK docs like documentations within Taon. So let's start. Taon can now run a real backend directly on Cloudflare Workers. For Cloudflare applications, Taon builds the backend as ESM JavaScript, but actually for real Taon Cloud, for local Taon Cloud, is still CommonJS because of the compatibility. But like I said, for Cloudflare we've got ESM JavaScript, and this ESM I ship directly to Cloudflare Workers through Wrangler. And Taon application works just like normal Taon application. So there's no difference between application on the Taon Cloud and application deployed to Cloudflare. So you can basically use the same controllers, repositories, entities, context, decorators, and high-level abstraction that you already use in Taon. And because Taon is isomorphic, you can still share your TypeScript code and models between Angular frontend and backend. A single Cloudflare worker can now contain one Taon backend with multiple context, one Taon backend with multiple context, and just one Angular frontend. And Cloudflare isolated based architecture fits this model really well because each instance can be recreated and scaled very efficiently. Another important benefit is security. Cloudflare Workers run JavaScript inside strongly isolated V8 environments. This gives Taon applications very restricted and controlled runtime compared to running a traditional Node.js server with full access to the operating system. For me, this means that Taon backend running on Cloudflare can now offer a level of runtime isolation and security that is much more closer to what we traditionally expect from major Java backend environments. But also another advantage, years ago people experimented with the idea of isomorphic Java. So they tried to use Java across both front-end and backend. And today, actually, basically, this is no longer a direction for web development. But with TypeScript is another different. It's a different story. With Taon, the front-end and backend can use the same language, shared models, shared abstractions, and share code. And now the backend can write inside Cloudflare lightweight is-related runtime, which means basically architectures become even more compelling to do that right now. Also, with Taon on Cloudflare, we've got access to high-level abstraction classes to work with Cloudflare database solutions like D1 key value and databases and R2 databases. So instead of dealing directly with Cloudflare API, everywhere in your application, you can work through familiar Taon abstractions. And with D1 from Cloudflare, D1 from Cloudflare actually give you relational SQL database. Keyfile gives you fast key value storage, and R2 handles fields and other object storage. Together, these three services cover probably 90% of what we normally need when building application. And the important part is that they fit naturally into the existing Taon architecture. And probably my favorite part, life is simple now. With one command, I can build and release the entire Taon application. An Angular frontend with backend directly to Cloudflare. To do that, I just run Taon AR Cloudflare, and AR means automatic release. Taon takes care of everything, the build, deploy, and deployment process for me. So with you just creating new Taon project and you just doing this one command and you are following the instruction in terminal and you're done. It is so simple and so convenient. And this is actually very close to what I imagine Taon should eventually become. One application, frontend and backend together, deployable to cloud with one command. And what about bundle size? Minified Taon application currently takes only around 1.3 megabytes on Cloudflare when we just have a Hello World application from Taon. So that means there's plenty of room within Cloudflare 3 megabytes worker size limit on a free plan. And basically also for free plan, you've got something around 200,000 requests per day, which is quite huge actually. And remember, this isn't just some tiny JavaScript function. This is a real Taon backend. This is 1.3 megabytes. This is a real backend with high-level abstractions, controller, repositories, database support, and the rest of the Taon architecture. So I'm really happy with the bundle size right now. Another thing that I would like to talk when I talk about this integration of Taon and Cloudflare is that now Taon is even more erasing the line between freelancers and big companies. As a freelancer or small team, you usually don't have the same resources, infrastructure, teams, or DevOps support that large companies have. With Taon, I want you starting with the highest practical level of abstraction with the same kind of architecture you would expect from much larger corporate applications. And because of Taon is isomorphic, sharing domain code between frontend and backend is not a workaround or afterthought. It's a natural way of building things. Your model, business logic, types, and abstractions can live together and be reused whenever they make sense. So Taon combined with Cloudflare Workers means that every single developer can now build, deploy, and scale applications using an architecture that would traditionally require a much bigger team. And one of the last things about Taon Cloudflare integrations is that sometimes I describe Taon as the new PHP from 2008 era. And what I mean by that is not that Taon is similar to PHP technically. No, I mean the developer experience and opportunity that PHP created back then. PHP made it incredibly easy for a single developer or a small team to build complete website. And that simplicity gave us projects like WordPress, PrestaShop, Drupal, Magento, Moodle, and many others. A lot of those systems are still with us today. And I think there's a big opportunity to rethink this generation of application using modern TypeScript, Angular, and Taon design patterns. Not necessary to rewrite everything because it is old, but to ask if we were building WordPress, Presta, or Moodle from scratch in 2026, what would they look like? For me, Taon is an attempt to provide the foundation for building that new generation of applications with the simplicity of the old PHP era, but with modern isomorphic TypeScript architecture. So, the second major improvement for Taon is the new incremental build system. Taon now watches far fewer files, which makes development much faster and more seamless, especially in large projects. You define your project dependencies, you start Taon build watch, and basically you forget about manually rebuilding or copying anything into Node modules. Taon keeps everything synchronized for you. This also has made huge difference on Linux. Previously, a large Taon development environment could put a significant pressure on Linux file watcher. With new approach, the number of watched files is dramatically lower, and the result is that even a weaker Linux development machine can now feel surprisingly close to Apple Silicon Mac for this kind of JavaScript development workflow. So the third update is a new Taon internationalization solution. So I wanted to take the best ideas I've ever seen in the different I18 from different I18 libraries. I18 by the way, it means internationalization. So I wanted to take all the best ideas, the ideas that feels really simple to use, and to just combine them and use them in Taon. And I did that, and now with this Taon solution, we've got basically, we can work with one Taon, one T variable, When you use getText is like another something familiar from if you ever deal with internationalization of your application, you know that getText is something that was it's really popular. But I don't use getText from system. Taon has its own implementation of searching getText strings. So Taon basically automatically detects the text that needs to be translated and extracted for you. Also, this solution is isomorphic, so the same approach works on both the Angular frontend and the backend. Translations are also lazy loaded, and instead of having enormous translation files for the whole project, Taon keep PO files close to individual components. I will explain later what it means. And finally, one of my favorite parts, a translation with one click. Also, I will show you this later. With Taon translation, you can extract your strings, translate them automatically with local AI, review results, and you're basically done with internationalization. It's that simple. So here we've got a PO file. As you see here, there is a one E18 folder per component. The component here is Taon language selector. And it is actually much more convenient. We can see what we are translating per component. And obviously, this is so much. I'm not sure why people don't do that. Why companies don't do that? It would be much easier to just have PO files per components and lazy load them per components, not per, I don't know, whole project or whole module. So also the super exciting thing is with Taon VS Code plugin, we've got new options to translate PO file. So with Taon lang extract, you are extracting your translation, and then you can just right click on the file in VS Code and do translate PO file. And that command is actually going to download local AI model that is going to intelligently translate the whole content of the file. So you are saving tons of time here. Besides that, when we look at the code where we use t variable and our E18 Taon solutions, it's actually very simple at first glance because we've got just this t variable and just two arguments. But Taon under the hood becomes, after Taon processing for browser, code becomes entirely different thing. And as you see here, Taon t variable is connected to specific file. So our Taon processing replaces path for the file and also replaces the path becomes unique in the differ for translation, and the second argument, translation maps, becomes a place where we lazy load our TypeScript data TS files with translations. And they look like this. Those are just TS files with JSON that contains translations. And The beauty is that we don't need any kind of a JSON files. We don't need to prepare assets for translations. We don't need to do that. We just use those. We just extract Taon, just extract internationalizations through Taon lang extract, and then we translate with AI file by file. And Taon internationalization is a complete solution, so it is super convenient. So almost the last update in this presentation is Tailwind CSS support. So Tailwind now works out of the box in default Taon application and is fully integrated with Angular. So it is also fully integrated with Taon watch build system, and we are getting this automatic detection of Tailwind classes. So there is no compilation setup or additional configuration. You can simply start using classes in your Tailwind classes in your application just by importing Tailwind CSS in Taon global CSS file, and it's done. And the last update is the new Taon documentation system. So I've almost completely dropped mkdocs support, and I replaced it with a documentation solution built directly into Taon. So for Taon application, now I recommended using Taon docs instead of default mkdocs Taon relics artifact. And my long-term goal is to remove unnecessary external tools and applications for Taon development workflow whenever possible. And mkdocs was one of the things that needed Python and PIP package manager, and it was not so convenient, I would say. And generally, this documentation is UI of this documentation is inspired by mkdocs, and it is shipped as a native Taon library and can be easily integrated whenever inside a Taon application. So now documentation becomes just another part of your Taon app. And also with the new Taon docs, we have nice search experience similar to mkdocs. And by the way, we've got all the indexing. Taon automatically generates search index from your documentation markdown files, MD files, so you don't have to configure or maintain the search manually or anything like that. Only thing you need to do in your Taon application is write documentation in MD files. Taon takes care of assets, links, and generates the beautiful Angular documentation library code, which you can attach anywhere in your application. And also you can attach like documentation from other olden Taon projects, and they're going to be bundled together. It is pretty amazing. To enable it, you just need to set should generate docs components property in your Taon JSON file. So thanks for watching. I hope this update gave you a little taste of what's coming to Taon and why I'm so excited about where the project is heading. If you like the idea behind Taon, please start a project on GitHub, contribute if you would like to get involved, and of course like this video and subscribe to Taon Dev YouTube channel. There is still a lot I wanted to build, and I'm really excited about what comes next. So see you in the next Taon update. Goodbye.